The Rokinon 14mm lens. Best budget lens for starry skies? Before I let you know more about this lens, I want to make sure you know that in partnership with a bunch of wonderful sponsors, we're giving away an all-expenses-paid trip to Africa, an awesome Tanzania photo safari. All of the details to enter are at photorec.tv/giveaway. This wide-angle lens is a full-frame compatible all-manual lens, manual focus and manual aperture. It's relatively sharp, wide open, and of course offers f2.8. The combination wide angle of view and f2.8 does, in my opinion, make this the best budget lens for shooting the starry night skies. It can certainly be used for other things, and during the day, landscapes, but if you watched my earlier wide-angle reviews, you know I'm running a little bit of an anti-campaign against automatically thinking a wide-angle lens is the answer to good landscape photography. After returning from an awesome photography trip to New Zealand, I'm even more comfortable in running this campaign and being on that platform. Most of my landscape shots there were taken with the 70-200. But when the sun drops and the stars come out, this is a fantastic lens to use. Why? Well, the landscape is usually reduced to a silhouette, and this kind of distracting, empty landscape just becomes this simple negative space that acts as a nice balance for the beautiful stars. Practically, the manual mark lines up very nicely, so I didn't have to struggle to get focus in the dark. f2.8 is sharp enough, though there's some distortion out at the edges. And 14mm on a full frame is very wide. It allows you to capture a really nice portion of the sky. Following the 500 rule for star photography, you can shoot for over 30 seconds before the stars start to blur from Earth movement. If you'd like to know more about star photography tips, you can see this link right down below. Shooting for 30 seconds or more lets you keep your ISO lower to get a cleaner shot. If you're shooting on a crop sensor, however, 14mm is only about 12 degrees wider than your kit lens at 18mm. So it's not terribly wider, but it does of course offer that faster aperture of f2.8, and it is sharper. So if you have a crop sensor and you're serious about stars, it still is a good value. If you wanted to go wider on a crop, you could pick up the 8mm, but that is actually only an f3.5, and I feel even more limited in its use. So starry skies, as I mentioned, they're not the only thing you can shoot with this lens. Interiors and of course some landscapes do work at this focal length. Now it's not all good though. We've got a bulbous front end with a fixed lens hood. So shooting during the day for landscapes, it's going to be tricky to use filters. In fact, the only thing I can find is the Samyang filter holder on their UK website. B&H or Amazon don't seem to carry it, so that's going to be a pain. Also, the hood feels a little flimsy. And as I mentioned, things do get a little soft out at the edges at f2.8, but they sharpen up nicely as you stop down. Overall construction is solid with a metal build and nice metal mount, smooth movements to the focus ring, and easily adjustable aperture ring. The build quality is very good, and that aperture ring's got nice soft clicks to it. And you get all of this for $300. If you dream of taking wide, starry skies, this is the best budget lens out there. Now a quick note, Rokinon, Bauer, Samyang, they're all the same, just branded differently depending on where they're sold in different parts of the world. And if you see what looks like this same lens for a little bit more, about $400, those are usually the ones with the focus confirmation chip. Still manual focus, but the camera is then able to provide some feedback when it is in focus. Now I use this lens on the Sony a7R Mark II in New Zealand. The focus peaking was a nice feedback. You don't get that on Canon or Nikon. So if you're nervous about that manual focus, you might want to consider the Tokina 11-16 f2.8, which does offer autofocus. It's a bit more versatile and of course easier to use, but it costs almost $200 more. Or the Canon 10-18, which is just as cheap, but don't try to shoot stars with that. I have. That lens starts at f4.5 and it's got a focus by wire system that makes it very tricky to get infinity focus in the dark. You can hear lots more about those lenses in my complete wide-angle review video that I'll link at the end of this. In quick summary, cheap, excellent for shooting the night sky, and if you plan on buying any of the lenses I just mentioned, use my links below. It's a free way to support my channel, and don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. I'd love to hear your opinions about this lens. Most of the people I know are fantastically happy with it. Leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.